Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to run you through two programs I've started using to help with my DJ set. So when I say help, just make things easier, okay? Those two programs are Mix in Key and Platinum Notes. Top level stuff here. Mix in Key is basically a key detection software. Most DJ software comes with this built in, so you're probably wondering why would I use Mix in Key first? Great, love notifications going off when I'm filming videos. Shut up. And then the other thing is Platinum Notes. Now, in a nutshell, the reason I use Platinum Notes is it takes all my music and makes it the same volume. But with that, there's a lot of questions that come along with that, like, what is it actually doing to the music? Is it affecting the music? How is it affecting the music? So, in this video, what I'm going to do is run you through why I'm using these two bits of software in a bit more detail, and we're going to be doing comparisons and all that good stuff. So let's get straight into it. Cool, okay, let's get straight into it then. So, Mix in Key. Why would I use this when Rekordbox Serato comes with key detection software built in? All DJ software will analyze your tracks for you. Here is the reason why. Basically, in a nutshell, Mix in Key is the most consistent, it's the most reliable. That's basically it. Like if you check out this screen here, you can see this is a chart that's been done, that somebody's gone through and done 1,300 tracks and just looked at which was the most reliable. And you can see Mix in Key is the most reliable, and then you can see these are the ones here. The Rekordbox is further down with a 69% kind of reliability, whereas Mix in Key is more like 76. Now, here's the reason why I'm going with Mix in Key to squeeze out that extra few percentages, right? Is because I recently did a DJ set and I started doing a lot of things like a cappella mixing, right? And in a nutshell, something I've discovered is my ears aren't perfect. So sometimes I find myself kind of relying quite heavily on the software for key. Like there's a lot of times where I'll put this track with this track and it'll go, and like, because the screen is telling me they're the same key, it kind of tricks me into just thinking, well, it should sound right. I'm sure it sounds right. And I uploaded this set and everyone was like, oh, that's not in key and stuff. And I was like, wait, what? I don't quite get that. And I listened back and I was like, yeah, maybe they're right. Maybe it's not in key. So I went back and started doing some independent searches, like Googling what key is this track in. I was like, more often than not, Rekordbox seemed to be getting it wrong. And that bothered me. I was like, wait, I rely really heavily on this software. So now I just use Mix in Key, and all it means is I get my music, run it through Mix in Key first. Obviously, you guys know what Mix in Key looks like. It's this thing here. It's an independent thing. You go and get your music. You literally just drag it in. It analyzes the file. It kind of tags the file with the key. And then when you load it into Rekordbox, you just have to, or Serato, it will come with that key loaded in. So with Rekordbox, you just don't select BPM. So it doesn't like analyze it twice. It uses the Mix in Key software. So this is what it looks like here. You just literally grab music and just drag it in. That's all it does. So that's the reason why I use it. I just want to have more consistency. I want to give my music the best chance of being in the right key. And I know there's lots of DJs out there that do run their music through Mix in Key, and I'm just gonna now be one of them, right? So that's Mix in Key. The next thing, which is the slightly more interesting software, I think, is Platinum Notes. Now, why do I use this? Because, again, I've been using a lot of acapellas recently, getting a lot of music recently into my collection, and I find myself playing with those trim knobs a bit too much. It's like, wait, that's just too quiet and that's too loud. And I was like, do you know what? It would just be so much easier if all my music was just standardized, so every track was the same volume. Especially when it comes to acapellas. Acapellas are all different volumes, and it's great because I can run my acapellas through Platinum Notes and it just makes them all the same volume. It means I'm playing with my trim knobs a lot less. It just makes things easier. It's like if I'm mixing this track into this track, I pretty much know they're going to be the same volume, and I'm not going to, it's one less element to be worrying about when you're DJing. That's basically it. Now, with Platinum Notes comes a load more questions. Okay, so first things first, let's run through what the heck Platinum Notes does. Okay, so I've got this website open here. Let's go and check it out. So this is on Digital DJ Tips. They interviewed the guy who made Platinum Notes, and basically they said to him, you know, like me, we don't like the idea of running our music software through this program that's going to change the music what exactly does it do? And it says it detects any clipped peaks. I'm going to explain this in a bit more detail in a second, but it detects any clipped peaks and fixes them with a combination of isotope multiband, which is like a compressor, and our custom algorithm for clipped peak repairs. Right, let me put this into English for you, okay? So I've got some paper here. I'm going to show you what they're kind of talking about. Basically, with music, you've got like wave files, okay? So like, you know, if you were to like make a sound, or kick drum would be like this, boom, boom, like this, right? Okay, you get these kind of like peaks in music and then they fade off. So if you look at a track, you'll constantly see these peaks in the sound, and just the louder parts of your sound. Now if you were to zoom right in on this sound, it could look a little bit like this, like that. Now when a sound is clipped, literally what happens is the digital program goes, you can't go over that sound. Like that's the loudest you're gonna get. And if you go over any more, we're just gonna just cut off that peak, which means digitally it just goes voink like this and cuts these peaks off. It clips them, okay? Which then means that the clips, instead of looking like that, look just like this, which would look like that, right? So every now and again, you'd have these peaks that are just clipped, right? Now, why is that an issue for DJs? Because that will sound different. It sounds distorted, okay? Now, what makes me nervous, coming from someone who produces my own music, is having a software that says it can fix clipped peaks is like, really? Because that's done and dusted, right? So if that peak is clipped, it's hard to fix it. Like, to fix it, what you've got to do is reshape it so it looks like this, and make it look more like this again, right? Now that is possible. What you can do is you can put this software on it that basically kind of tells it to turn the volume down quickly. So instead of it going like that, you kind of tell it to turn the volume back down, which kind of creates more of a transient here. And that would be one way you'd fix a peak, by kind of compressing it quickly so it kind of creates more of a shape, and it would make it sound a bit more natural again. But really, you're not fixing it. What you're doing is then kind of compressing the sound. I'm going into way too much detail here. It just makes me feel a bit nervous, this. So in a second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on my other computer, and we're going to literally look at exactly what's going on here with songs that have been put through Platinum Notes. We're going to check a few things. We're going to do a sound test and see if it sounds any different. Let's just run through this a bit more. They also say they've added like gentle warmth, which is a type of saturation. So it means this program is also kind of saturating the sounds, which again makes me nervous, because the producers, if they wanted that song to sound more saturated, they'd have done it themselves. You know, they don't give us their music so we can change the dynamics and add more saturation. So, not a huge fan of this, okay? It sounds weird, right? And the other thing it says it does as well, without reading this article out, is it kind of standardizes the volumes. Again, this makes me nervous, because if you think about the production of music, you have the builds and you have the drops. The drops are always going to be louder, right? And what I don't want is some software to come along and go, oh, what we're going to do is we're just going to turn down the volume of the drop. It's like, well, that's going to make the drop hit less hard, right? And you want it to hit harder, if anything. So there's lots of things that made me nervous about this, okay? Now look, when you run your sounds through Platinum Notes, what happens is it detects these clipped peak areas and it makes them bright red, and it says, this is what the track looks like afterwards, which supposedly is going to be more dynamic. There's going to be more of a difference between the quieter bits and the louder bits. Again, all makes me nervous. However, the thing I love about it is every track after it's been ran through is 12.5 decibels. That's the best bit about it. So, what I can tell you, and I can save you a bit of time here, is I've done a load of tests on this, and I've done loads of A/B comparisons, and actually, the music that comes out of this software sounds great. When I say it sounds great, it sounds no difference, which is what you want, right? Now, just to let you know as well, this software here actually costs like $97, so it's quite pricey for kind of what it is. I'm sure there's advanced stuff going on, but just to let you know that. And just so you know, you can configure your own settings in it as well. So you can kind of say what volume you want every track to be. You can add warmth, and I've just said, no, don't add any warmth. I don't want any additional saturation put on the songs. I want them to sound exactly like the artist wanted them to sound. You can do things like correct pitch. So if you're bringing in a track from a vinyl track, sometimes there's a pitch problem, which I'm not going to go into too much detail, and this program says it can correct it, but I know all the music I'm making is digitally made, so I turned that off because I don't want it doing anything. And yeah, and then here's the other bit, enable clipped peak repair. I left it on. It didn't sound much different with and without, so that was that. Now the other thing you need to know about this program as well is it doesn't like change the actual file. You have to select a new file and you send all your music into this new file. So it creates a brand new version of this track, which is good because it means you're not destroying the original track or changing the original track. But it also means you're going to have twice as much music on your hard drive. So what I do now is if you go into my music file here, I've got this section called Platinum Notes, and I run my acapellas and all my different tracks through Platinum Notes, and it creates a new version of the song over here. Cool, so without further ado, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go and jump on my computer, show you quickly kind of the difference between the two tracks. We're gonna listen to them both, and you're gonna listen to it and decide whether you can hear any difference between the two. And if you can't, like me, and you can afford to go out and get a $97 program like this, Mix and Key, where, whatever, I've lost it on the screen, then this might be something you might consider as well. Let's do it. Okay guys, so what I've done now is I've jumped on Ableton and I've dragged in two tracks. They're both the same track, but one has been through Platinum Notes and one hasn't. Now, if you just look at the screen here, you can see this one is clearly thicker and this one has just been turned down in volume, okay? So I'm not going to worry too much about that because that's the whole point of Platinum Notes. It's going to make sure all of my music is the exact same volume. So I'm okay with this being turned down. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to briefly run a quick test on the two visually to see if there's any actual difference in the two music. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to match the volume levels and I'm going to do like an A-B comparison between the two. But I'm going to hide the screen from you. I'm going to turn the screen black and I'm just going to go A, B, A, B to see if you can hear any noticeable difference between the two. Because at the end of the day, if there's no noticeable difference, then this is a worthwhile program to use for the reasons I'm using it. The first thing I want to do is just check the dynamics, okay? Now, without overcomplicating things, basically dynamics just basically means what the difference is between the quieter parts and the louder parts of a track are. Generally, the less dynamic something has, the louder it is because it's just almost full volume all the time. Whereas if there's longer dynamics, there's quieter parts, so overall the song will sound quieter. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because Platinum Notes says it can repair clipped peaks and makes the quieter bits of the songs quieter and the louder bits louder. So it's doing exactly this. So we're going to test it. Now, what this thing does is it just kind of bounces around, and if you look at these two numbers here, it tells you the dynamic range. The lower the number, the less dynamics. The higher number, the more dynamics. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a really small section of the song. This is the original here, and we're just going to look at this range meter here and just keep an eye on roughly where those numbers are. And by the way, it bounces around a lot, so I've just got a small section of the song because it'll just make it easier to see the range. Okay, so from quickly looking at that, I can see that the lowest range was about 5.3 and the highest range was about 6.8. I'm now going to look at this and basically see, does it go any higher than 6.8 on this track that's been ran through Platinum Notes? Interestingly, I'm seeing the number 7 come out, which would suggest that on the exact same section of the song, there is more dynamics, which is really interesting. That's what they claimed they would do, and it looks like it's kind of done it. Let's just try it on a different part of the song. Let's just go, I don't know, just move it along slightly to here, and we'll do the same test further along. So we're going to look at the highest number we see on this. Okay, I can see like 7.2 appeared. Let's have a look at this one. 7.3. Well, I don't know. It does look like it perhaps might have slightly more dynamics, but it doesn't really matter. It all matters on what it sounds like. There's one other thing I want to do. I want to listen to just before the drop, and I'm going to see whether I think the one track has more emphasis when the drop hits. Now before I do this, I need to make sure I match the two tracks volume wise. I'm going to do this by ear, so I'm just going to listen to the one and the other and turn the volume down. Okay, so to me, I've matched the volumes. That sounds about right. I'll just turn down the one track 3 decibels. And what we're going to do now is just listen to the two. So this is the one before platinum notes. I'm just going to listen to the emphasis, how much emphasis there is on the drop, like how loud the drop comes in, and then the other to see if there's any difference. And this is the other one. Not really. So now we're just going to do a kind of blind test. So I'm going to blank out my screen. I'm going to flick between the two tracks and I'm going to call it A and B. I'm not going to tell you which one's A and which one's B. And I want you to just think, can you hear the difference? And which one do you prefer? Okay, let's do it. And in all honesty, like I've done this test already, I really can't hear the difference. I'm listening to the punch of the kick, I'm listening to the level of the bass, I'm listening to see if there's any different saturation, anything like this. I can't hear the difference. Apart from the fact one's turned down. Once the volume levels are matched, they sound identical. So there we go. Interesting stuff. Write in the comments below if you thought you could hear a difference. And let me know whether this is the kind of software you'd be interested in using. Just to wrap up the video, I just use it because it means all my volume of all my tracks across the board are the same volume, which is good because it means I use my trim knobs less. That's basically it. So let me know what your thoughts are and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and by the way, if you want to go and watch another video of me DJing, click this button right here now. See you in the next video. Ciao.